Buffalo in the playoffs.
Okay, Frankie. Is it better to record these pods after a loss in which they played terrible against a terrible opponent like that happened Saturday night against Vancouver? Or is it better to record these after a gutsy come from behind win against a quality opponent on the road at the end of a long road trip? Which one do you think is better for us?
Well, if you want entertainment, it's probably after a loss, because I think I love when we get really rowdy and start saying things because we're all emotional and things like that. But I feel a little bit more calm, a little bit more at ease after a gritty victory in a swamp-filled arena like New Jersey. So I'll take the win.
Absolutely. If we would have recorded this on Saturday night, a lot of profanity would have came out, I'm sure.
Oh, I also think there'd be a lot of quiet moments as we're scrolling Twitter trying to find an update on Ryan O'Reilly.
That too, yeah, absolutely. I mean, only the Leafs can follow up one of their worst efforts of the year with one of their best. I think today was one of their best wins of the entire year. I mean, it against a quality opponent, like I said, on the road, come from behind win. Your power play actually comes through. You're shorthanded on the roster, and you were shorthanded in the game a lot, so your penalty kill was huge. And Austin Matthews finally scores a big goal. Not like a 4-1, 5-1 goal like he did in Seattle, I believe it was. A big go-ahead goal at the end of the game, which is what we like to see. So a great win all around makes you feel a lot better in Leafs Nation, that's for sure, than what we were feeling Saturday night.
Well, you know what, Joe? I think, just quickly on that, on the Saturday night game, how many times have we come on here and said, well, they dominated a period, they just couldn't score? That whole idea is starting to get really old, because if you dominate a period and you don't score in the playoffs, that's a game lost, right? Like, that's a crucial game. And against an inferior opponent like Vancouver, which, hey, Thatcher Demko usually saves his best games for playing against the Leafs, but
some reason, yeah,
it's unbelievable. They have capacity to put games away. The Buffalo game was a better example where they got four quick ones, but that could have been the same thing in Vancouver. So although, yeah, it was a pretty pathetic third period, there were some good things that we saw that we liked. Unfortunately, there were some other incidents that happened that, I'm sure we'll get to, but it's just when you think you figured them out,
they keep you guessing.
They're just a mystery, and tonight was one of those examples. So the thing about tonight's game, or obviously if you guys are tuning in, we're doing this right after the Jersey game. So if you see this tomorrow, the next day, this is kind of what we're alluding to. All I heard about on the radio today was, I just hope they don't get killed. I hope they give them a game. But we're also talking about a top 5 NHL team in terms of points and points percentage, and we're hoping that they just don't get killed. Like, even that, it's like, we can't just accept mediocrity. I'm not saying that they were going to win. I actually thought they were going to lose, but just to be completely honest, but I would have liked them to, have maybe an overtime loss or something like that. But how many times have we said this year that a goalie stole them a game? And I think today was one of those games where Samsonov was outstanding in the first period.
He did what Demko did to them on Saturday night. He let them find their legs. Yeah.
He kept them in the game. Other than Matt Murray's performance against Dallas a little while, obviously earlier in the season, I can't really think of a game where your goalie stole it for him. And this was one of those games. The last game of a road trip, you just want to get home, and New Jersey, what an incredible fast team they are. They're going to be outstanding. Thank God Timo Meier did sweet nothing tonight, which is another thing. But your goalie won you the game essentially, and I think they rewarded him with with a gutsy third period. So full credit.
I had their win probability tonight was 20%.
Yeah.
Does it get any leafier than? Here we are talking about how all the possibilities they have at center with Matthews and Tavares and O'Reilly, And then just like that, in the snap of a finger, pardon the pun, O'Reilly's finger is snapped. Tavares gets hurt or he's sick or whatever, and now they're all of a sudden thin at center. They have to play Sam Lafferty at center, who I thought was actually pretty good tonight. His speed definitely showed.
He was. You know what I like about Lafferty? Lafferty adds an element that you wish Engvall provided, because Engvall is a good skater.
Yep.
Like, he is a good skater for his size. Lafferty is just fast, and it's an intense fast. And the element that I like that Lafferty adds, he turns this team or gives this team some sort of transitional game. They are not a transitional team. They don't catch you, on breaks going back. They're a possession team. They like to gain the zone and work it around. Lafferty adds some speed and some tenacity that we really haven't seen, and you're probably going to get more of that in the third and fourth lines. But the fact that he was able to do that tonight in a scoring role led to the first goal. So little things like that I hope you're going to kind of get another dose of it in the playoffs. But I just like that speed element that he provides. So.
And they're going to need those elements, especially if by some miracle they end up making it further along and they play a quick team like New Jersey, who I think New Jersey is one of the top teams in the league. Like, if there's a team that can beat Boston, I think they may have a chance. It's just I have definite questions about their goaltending.
Oh, huge.
And I like them better than the Rangers, but the Rangers have such a big advantage in net that may sway the series. But yeah, they need to have that speed and tenacity. You have to have everything, every element, because you don't know who you're going to play in the playoffs. So I love that they added that. Honestly, since all the trades that they made, the guys that they've brought in have all looked good. It's been their other players, their core players, their big guys who haven't been as good. Tonight they were better, that's for sure. I thought Matthews was way more noticeable than he has been in the last couple games. He had a really strong game. He was buzzing. Marner was all over the puck today. He looked great. So they need, if they can get their top guys that they've had around for the last couple of years to bring their A game along with what they've added, they may have something cooking here.
Joe, I think, what have we been saying? Well, I know I said it last episode, but what have we been saying that was other than the power play, the largest downfall the Leafs team has had the last 3 years or so in the playoffs has been depth scoring.
Yep.
When your big guys can't go, you were getting little to nothing from your bottom six. And now you're getting contributions from Acciari, Lafferty, Kemp. Okay, kind of Bunting because he was on the fourth line tonight, but let's call him fourth line Bunting. But Järnkrok, when your big guys aren't going, you got to get it from the bottom six. And yeah, the power play was going, thank God. But that go-ahead goal, Kemp the Bunting, who had that one on the bingo card? You know what I mean? So those are the type of games. And look, circle this game on a calendar. This is a character build game. Like, this is a game you go back to, and honestly thought, Joe, they were going to score on that 5-on-4 in the 4 minute minor in the early in the third. It just had that, that feel to it. They didn't. It was a big kill. Then they're down on that awful goal that Samsonov let on the third one. Who thought they were going to come back and actually win the game in regulation? That is a character build game. So, kudos to them. And let's see, they need to come back. To me, on Saturday, they can't go backwards. They have to go forwards. This is a statement game for Matthews. If nobody else, it's Matthews. Now you're in Toronto with McDavid in town. You're probably going to get the best of McDavid because now he's home. So, I'm looking for Matthews big time on Saturday.
Especially because yours truly will be at the game, so he better put on quite the performance.
Wow.
I don't know if he knows, Frankie. I'm sure someone will let him know. That'll boost, give him a little oomph in his step. One of the biggest discussion points that's been going around the team the last week to 10 days even has been the play of Morgan Rielly, the team's ipso facto number one defenseman. He's really struggled this season. It hasn't gone well for him. He had that terrible injury, and ever since he's come back, he just hasn't been himself. And Saturday night didn't look great. Tonight he looked a little bit better, but I want to throw a stat to you that I saw. I think Stephen Birch posted it on Twitter. The Leafs are 12-1-1 without Rielly when he was injured that stretch of time. So an incredible record. They are also 15-6-1 when he plays less than 22 minutes. Also a really good record. When he plays over 22 minutes, they're 11, 9, and 6. So basically under 500. Want to know how much he played tonight? 1955. So they've got to do more of that. They've got to, at this point, the way he's playing right now, he cannot be playing a lot of minutes. You got to limit his minutes, put him in favorable matchups. Forget about the contract and the fact that you're paying him $7.5 million right now. If you have to play him against the easiest competition on the third pair just to get his confidence back, then that's what you do, because they need Morgan Rielly to be at his best come playoff time, just like he's been in the past, because he has been a playoff performer. Don't forget, he scored a big goal in Game 5 against Tampa. He scored a big goal in Game 7 against Tampa. So they need him to be at his best. They got to build his confidence back up.
Yeah, the easiest way to do that is playing with a safety blanket. And I think the two safety blankets they originally had for him are now together as the shutdown pair, who were outstanding again tonight. I don't
know how you split them up.
I'm going to get to that in a minute because I absolutely love one of them. But I thought it was a smart move playing with Liljegren. Liljegren is a very good. He's quickly becoming a dependable defenseman. You know what I mean? Like he has his quirks as he's still young, but like he makes good plays. He's not flashy. He's efficient. And I think that's a guy Rielly can probably feed off of in third pairing minutes. So yeah, I agree with you, Joe. I think we talked about it before that Morgan Rielly is not going anywhere and he's not playing forward. All that garbage I see on Twitter is it's so dumb. He's not playing forward. So he's going to play. How do you get a guy's confidence up? Play him less, but play him in a position to succeed. And if the offense isn't coming, because he's pushing more for offense, but if the offense isn't there, why not do something a little different to get yourself in the game? Why not every time you're out there, hit something? Get in the play, hit something, make a good clear, build off little things like that, because then you're not thinking about offense anymore. The offense will come, organically. So I think I'm just drawing from experiences. I've had players like that who are in slumps and are like, you know what, man? When you go out there, finish every hit you can. And you know what? You'll find yourself in a good position to score. And there you go. So that would be like my kind of coaching advice to Keefe.
Do you think it's a little bit of a catch-22 in that you want to limit his minutes, you want to give him favorable matchups? So like that would be like power play time because that helps.
Yep.
I almost feel like him being on the number one power play unit may be messing with his confidence a little bit because he seems so indecisive.
Yeah,
at times.
It almost happened tonight. If you remember the Matthews goal, he started to skate with it. I don't know if you noticed. They were going to do the bump back play, but he hesitated and he stopped right in the neutral zone. And then somehow he was able to keep going again and fire over to Nylander on the far side. He almost got caught, and New Jersey almost went back the other way. It was indecisive.
Yeah.
Instead of he had a lane to take it into the zone and set up a power play, but he stopped. I don't think I've ever seen him actually stop right just before the blue line. So, yeah, Joe, I totally agree with you. Indecisiveness is one of the worst things that can happen when you have no confidence in hockey. It's like a snowball effect.
Yep.
Right? It just more and more keeps piling on. And the worst thing you can do is think too much.
I was not a fan of the Sandin trade. I've made that known.
Very clear.
And what I don't understand is you acquire Gustafsson in the first. Okay, Gustafsson is like basically a power play specialist.
Correct.
If you acquire this guy, why wouldn't you try him out with the number one power play unit? That's what he's good at. That's essentially why you brought him here, is it not? I mean, if you're not going to do that, then why not try to get an additional forward like a Connor Sheary or someone of that ilk that can play in your second, third line to give you a little bit more scoring punch? I didn't like trading Sandin, and I didn't like getting Gustafsson to be your eighth defenseman. It made no sense to me.
Yeah, I think from what I've read, it was either taking back Gustafsson as a depth defenseman or an additional pick. So are you trading Sandin for a first and a fourth or something, or who knows? I don't know what that
maybe I would prefer that, honestly.
Well, you do now, and the guy hasn't had the easiest start to his Leaf career.
No,
so
he has not.
Typically he's been a 6-7 guy who's had a couple great years of offense. I think with Chicago, he had like 60 points that year, but he's bounced around.
Yeah.
Montreal, Edmonton, I think.
Well, he struggles defensively, right?
Yeah, it's what it is, right? So no, he doesn't. Personally, Joe, he's number 8 behind Timmins for me, but that's just my opinion.
I agree with you. I know.
But like, who's he going to take out on the left side?
That's the problem. I get
Right?
it. But the last couple games when you dress 7 defensemen, you might as well throw them out there on the first unit because it wasn't working for you anyways.
Because he hadn't had a practice yet, but now that he is, and he was flanking the second power play. He was actually on the second power play unit when he was playing. But again, I also think, now I don't agree with it, but from what I understood, having Rasmus Sandin, I again, you can roll it back. I'll show you with the clip. I told you Sandin was not going to be in this lineup in the playoffs. And that's not what I would do. Is just kind of what Keefe has been doing, right? And he's starting to go down that path with Liljegren, which, again, I don't want to talk.
Well, let's talk about that then.
Hold on. With Sandin, I think that would have been a distraction. That's what I'm hearing. So as a 7th defenseman, Sandin has been creating issues. His agent had asked for a trade. They didn't want that around the team. Too bad. I felt like it just feels like they rushed a trade out of there. Now they got a 1st-round pick, which is nothing to bark at. That's pretty good, based on the circumstances. But like, I kind of think he could have got more for Sandy, maybe a different,
or move that 1st-round pick for additional forward.
Exactly.
That's what we were all hoping
for. So
now
right? He's got a 1st, which he's probably going to trade back, acquire more assets, and here we go again.
If he's there.
Yeah. But now Liljegren, this is what I'm concerned with. You heard from Keefe today on his press conference before the game. I spoke to Liljegren, or spoke to whatever he calls him, Timmy, whatever. He spoke to Liljegren saying that he's a big part of this team, a big part of this team moving forward, but we want to get other guys in the lineup. And, there's some things that, he has to work on, et cetera, et cetera. What part of that game does he need to work on that he's doing any worse than guys like Hall, Riley, whomever? How is he not in your lineup every day? Granted, he's not old, but he's not that young either. Like, he was great with Giordano last year. Great. So nothing has changed for me. It's all BS. The problem is he doesn't make $7.5 million, so it's easy to sit the guy. Like, Keefe is going down that road for me that I'm starting to lose a lot of confidence in his coaching ability, or not even that, his ability to understand the right fits on his team.
Frankie, Mike Babcock was trending today on Twitter. And it's because coaching decisions like this, where it's like you're so stubborn and set on certain players being in the lineup, like a Hall, right? But every coach kind of has their favorites and their guys that are in the doghouse. But I agree with you. Liljegren has definitely proved he is definitely in your top 6 come 100%. Playoff time. Yep. And you mentioned he was so great with Giordano last year. He was. And then what happened in the playoffs? He was benched. They did not play him, I think, after game 2 or something like that, in favor of Ilya Lyubushkin. So they have another Lyubushkin, Luke Schenn, who I think is much better. But I don't think if Luke Schenn's in the lineup, which I understand what he brings and why it's important, especially against those scumbags in Tampa, but that doesn't mean that Liljegren should come out because of that. We all know the guy that should come out. And I'm not even a Justin Hall hater. I think you could do a lot worse than Justin Hall as your 6th defenseman. I'm telling you right now. The guy can skate, he can block shots, he can penalty kill. Go look around the league and look at Team 6 defensemen. It ain't that bad. Now, that doesn't mean that we have depth. We have guys that are better. So he should come out of the lineup in favor of Liljegren. This shouldn't even be a question. Liljegren has proven that he is, I think he's actually a top 4 defenseman at this point, to be honest.
Agreed. Agreed. I think, when you look at this defense court, I don't really see a 1 through 6. I just see a lot of 3s. You know what I mean?
True. It's very true.
Right? So I can't sit here and say Morgan Riley is the easy one. There's games where, tonight, Jake McCabe was their best defenseman.
He was.
Other nights, it's TJ Brody. Yep. Another night, it's Liljegren. That's good in a sense, but isn't that the internal competition you want? But you have to make it in a way where it's I don't want to use the word fair because it's the NHL, but you have to have, you now have the luxury of 8 defensemen that can go in and out of the lineup at any time. Now, granted, Gustafsson and Timmins are kind of a step below, but like start rotating guys in. Gio's been playing a lot of minutes this year and a lot more than he had to when there was a lot of injuries this year. Don't forget, they were playing Mac Hollowell, Victor Mete,
Yep.
Jordy Ben, and Gio had to take a lot of minutes. Get him some time to chill. Same with Riley, he was coming back from an injury. Like, now's the time. It's load management, right? There's your chance to get guys in. Don't sit guys because, well, that's the obvious choice. No, it's not the obvious choice. You know, there are better choices to start sitting guys if you want to create real competition. And Keefe has done it. He has done it this year with Hall on a couple of occasions. He's put him in the box to kind of reset. I think it's time for some resets with some other guys as well.
Like, players aren't stupid. They know who their best defensemen are. They know who should be in the lineup. Yep. If you keep putting a guy out there who is not as deserving as someone else, it gets frustrating for them too, I'm sure.
100%. But I will tell you this, though. I'll leave on this note. Jake McCabe and TJ Brody, I haven't seen a shutdown pair the Leafs have relied on in a long time, next to when Muzzin started coming into this lineup, where I kind of see that comparison. But here's a stat for you too, Joe. The Leafs have played 4 away games since McCabe's been in the lineup, and 2 of them have been awful. Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, New Jersey. The star power on those teams, obviously with McDavid. Jake McCabe has been on the ice for how many goals? 0. So that is,
I like stats, Frankie, and that right there is a good one.
I'm not a stats guy, but that is a eye test and analytic test all in one. This guy, especially retained for another 2 seasons on top of this, was very, very shrewd business by Dubas. I liked it when it happened. I love it even more now.
All right. Now, I think you wanted to give me some rapid fire questions.
Yes.
Why don't we get to that? Unless there was something else you wanted to discuss.
No, I think we're good. Well, I think we talked about the Keefe stuff a lot. I think we don't want to beat a dead horse. But yeah, let's go into some, let's have a little fun with some rapid fire, kind of looking forward into the future a bit for game 1, kind of how the team sets up now. Unfortunately, I had some O'Reilly stuff in there, but for the hell of it, let's do it anyways, because there's some people convinced that he's going to be in other places in the lineup come game 1. I'm not, but I kind of want to hear your theory on this. So we just finished talking about Morgan Rielly. I heard this question today, and I want your take on it. It is more important to have Morgan Rielly playing his best hockey than it is for Austin Matthews going into game 1.
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I'm going to say they need Austin Matthews to be the Austin Matthews that we know he can be. And the reason is because it's like you said, the Leafs have a lot of third defensemen. So if Rielly is good, but he may not be your best defenseman one night, another guy can step up. They need Austin Matthews to be incredible. Like McDavid did with Edmonton last year, where he literally grabbed them by the collar, that team, and dragged them to the conference final. We're waiting for Austin Matthews to have that, that effect on this team. And last playoff, he was really good against Tampa, but not to that level that Connor has. And maybe it's unfair to compare him to Connor, because Connor is like incredible. The dude is going to put up 70 goals this year. There's nobody like Connor, but Matthew is in that tier right below him. He's in that McKinnon tier. McKinnon dragged his team to a Stanley Cup final. He has that ability. So I think Austin Matthews, we need to see the real Austin Matthews. And has he been terrible? No, but he has not been what he can be. And it's not even about the goal scoring, Frankie. It's like taking over games. How many times this year have you said, "Oh, Matthews is the best player on the ice today"? Those games have been few and far between.
Yep.
And you could give me he's a 200-foot player. He's great defensively. He was that last year also, and he scored 60 goals. Why can't it be both? I don't know. Maybe I'm greedy, but yeah.
It is a harder question. It's harder than it should be. And the only reason why I say Austin Matthews is quite simply, if you take Morgan Rielly out of this lineup and you take Austin Matthews out of this lineup, who's the bigger hole?
Oh, we know the answer to that.
And that's why I'm going to go with Austin Matthews. So, and I would have answered Morgan Riley if the Leafs didn't go out and get Jake McCabe, to be quite honest with you. Again, I know it's a sample size of what, 4 games, 5 games, whatever it is right now, but like, that's the guy they needed behind him. And I'm glad they have a guy like that who is as advertised, that if something happens to Morgan Riley, you know, you have more depth there than you know, originally intended. So, all right, that was good. Okay, Ryan O'Reilly, man, hurts me even just to say, but it's could have been worse. You know, it's only going to be 4 weeks. He will be back. Hopefully, he gets some regular season games in. But from what you've seen so far, Morgan Riley, Ryan O'Reilly will be the third line center come game one, rather than on the or second line center with John Tavares on his wing. So I'm saying Ryan O'Reilly will be the third line center against Tampa for game one. What say you?
I disagree with you. I think this latest injury actually, in some way, lends itself to him being more in that second line role with Tavares and Nylander. And the reason I say this is because, like today, when you have a guy like Lafferty step up at center, and we know Achari can play center and Kampf can play center, I think this may give them the idea that they don't need to load up in that third line center role and give them a more potent top 6 and let those other guys, the depth guys that they acquired, fill in those depth roles in the bottom 6. So I'm going to say he starts in that second line role. I don't know, you know, the series with Tampa is probably a long one. I'm sure there are spurts where they put him at the third line center role, but I think for the most part, he's in that second line.
Okay. If that's the case, who's playing third line center then? Because I have a theory as to why.
It's probably Kempf and then Achari centering the fourth line.
Okay. So the tendency I've been finding with Sheldon Keefe is when he likes this whole idea of a shutdown role. You're starting to see it with Brody and McCabe. He's going to do the exact same thing with his forward group. He tried to do it last year with Tavares line, but it kind of worked at times, but it didn't because you were always looking for hopefully that the Matthews line scored. He's going to go with O'Reilly. He's going to go with Lafferty and one of Kerfoot or, insert guy on left wing for the third line. He is going to use a shutdown line, and they were going to play a lot of minutes. And I think O'Reilly is going to be a big factor of that. That's why I have him on that third line starting game one. And you know what? You don't need the guy to score. Honestly,
does that mean we have to have Kerfoot in the top 6 again?
No, I got him on the fourth line with the Chari and Cam.
You know those? Okay,
but I actually
those player cards that they're always posting on like Twitter. It's like their defense, their offense, their finishing. His finishing must be at like 1%. That dude cannot score if his life depended on it. And I'm not a Kerfoot fan by any stretch of the imagination. I actually think he has been pretty good lately. I actually think he's been better than Bunting, more noticeable than Bunting lately. But you give him, it's like today, it was almost like Matthews and Marner saw him open and like, I'm not going to give it to him because I know he's not going to finish it. Poor guy. I actually feel bad for him.
Which leads me to my next question.
Okay.
Fill in the blank. Game one. Well, we saw Michael Bunting playing on the fourth line against New Jersey. So fill in the blank. Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and blank.
Yeah, it'll be Bunting for sure. I think this demotion is just Keefe trying to, light a fire under his butt. Nothing more. And it worked. Big goal today. And I like him in that role. Like with the guys with Achari, like that's a tough line to play against. That's a line you don't, enjoy playing against if you're an opponent. But I think he's definitely on that left wing to start the playoffs.
Make sure you edit. Make sure you find the timestamp of this answer.
Okay.
Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, Matthew Knies.
Oh boy.
Reason being.
Oh boy.
He'll start there. Doesn't mean he'll finish there, but Keefe likes to move his lines around. He found that if he can move Bunting up and down the lineup, and I think he slots perfectly with O'Reilly and Lafferty on the third line, That's why I have Knies in A for because you know you get. I'm not saying he's going to be impact guy. I'm just saying I could see him starting there by just the way. If you haven't listened, if you have not watched a Minnesota University Gophers game, you have no idea how good or how much of an element of Matthew Knies that this team is missing, or can actually gain more of with him in the lineup. He has that Brady Tkachuk type of allure to him. I'm not saying he's as good as him. I'm saying he's that type with some good touch around the net, and that gets me excited. So,
well, Minnesota's like the best team in the country. They're probably going to go to the national championship, right. And if he does go to there and they win it, that would leave him, to sign a contract. He'd probably be able to get in like the last 3 games of the year. Not many. They probably do put him on that line to give him a chance and see how it rolls.
Why not?
I wouldn't doubt it. So
remember, not ending there, starting there.
Starting there, yes.
Okay. All right. Let's end off with some goaltending, because I think this has been a strong point of this team. But Matt Murray starts game 1 over Ilya Samsonov versus Tampa.
I think they want Matt Murray to be the guy still. They acquired him to be the guy. They love his playoff pedigree. They love his ability to shine in big moments like he has in the past. Matt Murray's never been a bad goalie. His problem has been being able to stay healthy. So I think if they take care of that, I think there's a really good shot at him doing that. Even though Samsonov's been incredible this year. He's been great. But Samsonov has also shown moments where his nerves have come out a little bit.
Agreed.
And I think that worries them a little. So I think Murray actually would be the game 1 starter, provided that he's able to stay healthy this last stretch of the season and he's able to play well. Because obviously you're not going to start him in game 1 if he's not playing well and Samsonov is playing well. That'd be dumb. But if they're both playing well, I think they like Murray in that spot.
Yeah, I can't disagree. I was going to say,
you're trying to set me up.
I was only, I'll tell you why. And why I asked a question like that. With his home record, how are you not tempted to go with Ilya Samson?
It's true.
And then play Murray on the road against Tampa?
They could be the first team ever.
I'm just saying,
split their home and away games with their goalies.
I would not be surprised. I honestly would not be surprised.
But then at game 7 at home in Toronto, you go Matt Murray because he's got the game 7 incredible record.
Listen, you can't. 2 cups is 2 cups, man. Those guys like that turn it on like a light switch. In my opinion, so
definitely.
Well,
all right.
I want to pin these because when we come back, I'm sure we're going to revisit this stuff. I want to see how close we are. But I thought it was a great deadline leading up to it. I like the composition of the team. Some things I little change around a bit, but I kind of like looking into the future. And they have that 1 contract spot left. Obviously, we know where it's going. So I think, listen, I honestly think he's going to be a bigger part of this team than people realize. I'm talking about Knies. He is not a 21-year-old, we'll call him rookie, but he's
built like a man.
He's built like a man. He can play. He can skate. He can score. And I think he is that last deadline acquisition. I truly mean, I feel that. I think that's why they did not acquire another forward, because then they wouldn't have had a spot for him.
I would love it. I want us all to temper our expectations just a little bit, because to go from playing in college to going into the NHL, where it's like ramping up for the playoffs and then into the playoffs, that is a big jump, really big jump. But maybe Knies is a guy that can handle it. Caulfield did it pretty much with the Habs a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken, right?
So did Kale McCarr.
There you go. And I saw something this past week that Matthew Knies is the favorite to win the Hobey Baker Award right now, as it currently stands.
That one caught me by surprise. I gotta be honest. It caught me a little by surprise.
Maybe it was all Leaf fans voting for that. All right, buddy. Let's get out of here.
Yep.
Gonna make sleeping a lot easier after a big win today. So
absolutely. Well, Twitter's a little less volatile, especially the people calling for a suspension on Timothy Liljegren's clear out with his elbow there. So Didn't really understand that one.
I don't even know when did that happen?
The Miles Wood hit. If you saw it in the first period, went to go hit Liljegren.
That guy is fast.
And that was as Liljegren was clearing the puck, he took out Wood with his elbow when actually Wood was the one who engaged the hit. And they are going crazy on Twitter for a suspension. And I'm coming back with the Stevie Wonder gif, So I said, you're blind.
Well, he wears a Leaf jersey, so you're going to see that tweet from the Department of Player Safety. Suspended 2 games. All right. Thanks a lot. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, and let us know what you think. Frankie had some good questions that he asked me. I want to know what you think of those.
Send them our way. We'll put them on the show for sure.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Have a great night. Let's go Leafs.